You ready? Okay, just 1 minute to go. We'll use the time to... There's enough supply.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you take it out for...
Can you please close the door behind you? Thank you. Okay, colleagues, it's exactly 2 o'clock and it's time to start. Thank you very much for making the time to attend our media briefing. Without any waste of time, I'm going to ask the Minister to come through, read the media statement and address us, and we'll take it from there. Minister, please come to the stage. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Program Director Elijah. Let me also greet members of the media that are here, and thank you very much for making the time to join us. And just say good afternoon, and thank you very much, as I say, for joining us. Just 2 days ago, as a sector, we hosted the 2021 National Teaching Awards, which is our flagship program within the Teacher Appreciation and Support Program. And with it, we marked the 21st edition of the National Teaching Awards in appreciating the excellent and selfless work done by our teachers. We had the greatest pleasure of being joined by His Excellency, President Cyril Ramaphosa, who addressed us, encouraged and thanked teachers, more especially for their continued commitment and dedication during COVID-19 pandemic. But what was most fascinating for me in the 21st version was the number of young teachers who were part of the decorated list of national finalists. It was very exciting and encouraging to see that the sector really has rejuvenated. There's young people who have really decided to take teaching as a profession of choice. Of the 35 teachers who were finalists, 23 of them were below the age of 40. But what was even more exciting for me was to see the winners for the best maths teachers in the country. The top teacher in the country teaching maths, it went to Nkarabetsi Muhitli from Northwest, who's only 33 years old. Then the second one went to Mansitse Matipa from Limpopo, who's only 29 years of age, and was the second best teacher in the country. And Thulani Sibiya from Mpumalanga, who came third in the Teaching Maths Awards, is only 27. He's really born in 1994. It was quite exciting and very encouraging to see how the sector has really rebuilt itself and how young people are choosing teaching as a career and are bringing the necessary skills, attitude, and energy. For instance, in the science, we had Awonke Chefu from the Free State, who's 31. We had Daniel van Eck from the Western Cape, who's 33. And we had Amugede Manganyi from Gauteng, who's 40. But also very exciting is how young people are also bringing the modern skills that we need as a sector, with a category on technology. Nkosinathi Mzobe from KZN was leading the pack in terms of innovation, technology in the sector, and creativity in the sector, because we really indeed have to move towards technology in our sector. Dwenthu Nkosinathi Mzobe from KZN, 34 years of age. The second winner was Nikki Potgieter from the Western Cape, who's 35 years old. But also, what was really heartening was to see Megan Isabel, who's only 25 years of age, who became the third top winner of technology in the country. But we also had our prestigious awards, which went to Alfred Skosana from Limpopo and Renate van der Westhuizen, both of them for secondary school teaching and secondary school leadership, and great Via Africa gave them cars, so they left the awards with cars. And the lifetime achievement went to Dr. Rishi Chand Budal from Rose High School in Chatsworth. He has served the sector for 39 years. He's got 3 master's degrees, as a PhD. He's a registered psychologist, and the work that he's done in the sector, even beyond his school, was amazing. And that's what these teacher awards are. And again, I want to take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude, especially to all our teachers. October is the month when we celebrate and really thank teachers for their professionalism and selflessness. We're mindful that with COVID-19, things were much more difficult, and we lost quite a number of our teachers in the process, and we continue to say, may their soul rest in peace. Chair, I thought I should also share information, because the main aim is to really update you about the matric results, the matric exams, and appeal to communities to support our children as we do a countdown now. But I thought I should take this opportunity that the second phase of the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative has started. The project is currently we're currently recruiting. We opened on the 27th of September 2021. Already we have more than 5.5 million young people who have registered on our South African Youth MOBI. So there have been lots of difficulties where young people are collecting application forms. There's all sorts of scams that have been going around. And we are only considering people who have been registered on the South African Youth MOBI, nothing else. There are no walk-ins, there's no one collecting, there's no one recruiting. It's only through the South African Youth MOBI. We have already, as I say, received more than 3.9 unique applications. When you say from the 5.5 unique applications, are real applications of the majority of young people, highly qualified, highly skilled, who are going to come forward, and we are very confident that it will enrich our work. From this 5.5 million, we seek to appoint 287,000 unemployed young people between the ages of 18 and 35. Of them, 192,000 will be our teacher assistants, and 95,000 will be our general assistants. Because as government, with all the challenges that we've had around COVID-19, with the teachers' assistants, we want to see how we can claw back on lost teaching and lost learning, but also get other general school assistants to help us with infrastructure and other activities in the schools. Again, Chair, I thought I should also share with the public that this year we inaugurated a new commission, the UNESCO South African National Commission. And the commission, just to remind South Africans, its aim, it's the UNESCO body, Its mission is to contribute to peace and security by promoting collaboration amongst nations through education, science, communication, information, and culture. And I must say, the UNESCO has been helping us a lot as countries to network as to how we mitigate and share experiences about how we deal with COVID-19. And I was very proud that we did inaugurate our new structure this year, and we had great people coming forward. But as I said, Program Director, the purpose of this briefing in the main is to brief the nation and update the nation about our readiness for the 2021 National Senior Examinations. We're left with 18 days now before our full-time and part-time candidates start. And once again, we want to wish all our learners a great matric exam. We appeal to parents and committees to support them, give them space, because basically the NSC exam is a culmination of almost 13 years of schooling with an estimated 2,500 days of teaching and learning totally. And you'll recall that even this class of 2021 had to navigate a complex and hazardous terrain to arrive to this final point. This is a class of 2020, the grade 11s of 2020, that couldn't complete the curriculum, only came back to school after July. And this year they had to spend almost every possible day and hour to be teaching. I'm not going to give you statistics because of the time pressures, but I can, Dr. Polio and or Ms. Obasanjo will really share with us what are the statistics and what is the information. But the main purpose normally for us is to even appeal to communities, to parents and to our learners indeed, to enable us to run a credible exam. It's in the interest of the country, it's in their interest, it's in the interest of everybody, so that we don't go back to the very embarrassing situation we found ourselves in 2020, where there was scribbling and all sorts of things, and discrediting an exam which is written by millions. For instance, by hundreds and thousands. This year, we are going to be presenting 735,670 learners. It's more than 700,000 learners that are going to be sitting. And these are the full-time candidates. And I'm quite happy also to notice that we're increasing the numbers of students and young people who are taking a second chance and always come and present themselves for your part-time. These are part-time candidates. So for this year, we had 128,000 part-time candidates, 451. Bearing in mind that we also had a good number of them writing around June. It was more than 500,000 that presented themselves for exams in June. So it's very encouraging. And again, I want to really remind our people, remind our learners that we have developed, because these are special groups, the 2020 group, the 2021 group, we had to find different ways of supporting our learners, because, as I say, they had to navigate through very difficult paths to be able to get to where they are. So we have the WOZA Matric campaign program, which is available, and it offers tuition and support to grade learners in 10 subjects. It's a free-to-air television initiative which was launched because of COVID-19 disruptions. It's a campaign that we have been assisted, that has been led by ourselves and the National Education Collaboration Trust, the CETA, but a number of companies came together and professionals came together to assist us and the NECT to bring together a very comprehensive program. As I said, the WOZA Matric campaign is a supplementary remote learning support program which seeks to benefit our learners to catch up on curriculum learning, grade 11 and matric revision, as well as helping them with exam preparations. It is implemented as a growing national network of remote and digital learning platforms, where we cooperate with the media, we cooperate with professionals, with NGOs and all other people who really who really are wishing to assist us. So we want to urge all our learners to take advantage of the learning and teaching support materials, as well as support available, and as well as avail themselves for support through all the zero-rated platforms that are on the WUZA Matric. I had a meeting, I don't want to take much, Elijah, that we had very productive meetings. I think we'll be able to update the media that we're modernizing our South African school administration management system. Those are some of the things that we've really been forced to fast track by COVID, because it has forced us to go back to build back better. We received the report. We also got the report on vaccination, because we want as soon as possible to go back to normal systems in education. At National, we have informed our staff to say we're in level 1, so it's back to school or back to work. We keep the protocols in place, but we have to reboot the system. We have to make sure that we build back whilst we continue to implement. But there's also been a matter which I thought I should also take advantage of this briefing, that there are ongoing concerns regarding the pace of the replacement of pediatricians in the country. And I want to report that great strides are being made in this regard. In the department, we have stepped up the monitoring and the delivery of school infrastructure. As we had reported earlier, when we started the program, there were 3,200 schools that had been identified not to have proper sanitation. When we went to verify, we discovered that not all those 3,285 schools had pediatricians. Some had just broken systems, some didn't have proper sanitations, water had been cut out, and then they were reduced to 2,825 schools. And I can report that the projects that we had to do from the 2000 and something, is technology running away with me? More than 1,000 of them. So I want to be exact about how many we have really built. That of the 2,000 and something that we had to deal with, more than 1,000 got sanitations. We're at the point where we have more than 1,000 in the pipeline. We are left with less than 8,000 for next year. Okay, so I don't know what I pressed in it left. So we're saying from the 2,825, 1,185 schools have already received new sanitation. We have in the system also 1,000 which are at different stages of implementation. We even had the meeting this morning with Deputy Minister. We left with less than 1,000, but they're there, so we can't say there are no schools without pediatricians. So the fact that we still have the 3,000 which was identified 2 years back, it's not accurate. Yes, indeed, 2,825 schools were identified to have pediatricians. I want to repeat, 1,186 have already received their new ablutions. This year we have more than 1,000 in the system at different stages of development, and for the remaining period we'll be implementing 1,000. So I thought I should clarify that, because I think there's been some concern, legitimately and understandable, that we are still at 3,000. We're not at 3,000, and we're very confident that by 2021, 22, 23, we would have finished all the schools that have been given to us. The unfortunate thing is that we keep on discovering others out of the 3,000 that we were given by provinces. And we're collating that information, and we'll also share with the public, because we have to go back to Treasury to say we had requested money for 2,800 and something. That's the money we're given. But we're picking up the province did not give us all the numbers. We're also working with district directors to make sure that we can mop up in that space. So Program Director, I really want to invite people from exams, because the briefing today really was to update the nation about our readiness to present a credible exam for 2021 and wish our learners well, but also appeal to the public to support the class of 2021. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Minister, Deputy Minister, and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Priscilla Ogunbanjo, and I'm Director for Public Exams. I'm just going to give you a short update, and mainly focusing on the size and the scope of this examination. As Minister already said, we have 18 days to go. Officially, we are commencing the examinations on the 27th of October and terminating on the 7th of December. So I believe our candidates are ready to go into this examination after all the input that has been made. You would note that, as already mentioned, the grade 12 2021 class is the grade 11 2020 class that actually had to go through all the limitations imposed on us by the COVID-19 pandemic. But however, the department has consistently adapted and made changes to mitigate these limitations. And today we can say that our learners are prepared to go into this examination. We are also prepared to administer the exam, because this is not going to be the first examination we have under this COVID-19 environment. This is actually the third. We started with the combined 2020 examinations last year in November, and I believe we have learned a few lessons since then. We are at a better place currently than we were this time last year, when we were not sure how the virus is behaving. Not that we know everything about it now, but however, I think we have learned some lessons. And of course, we also conducted the May-June examinations this year already. So this is our third exam under this dispensation. In terms of the numbers, we have 735,677 full-time candidates that have enrolled to write this exam. This is the largest that we have since the inception of the NSC in terms of full-time enrollments. I think we have been moving around the 600,000s, but we have now gone to 700,000. And this is at least 128,000 more candidates than we had enrolled for the NSC full-time last year. In terms of the part-time candidates, we also used to hover around 170,000. Last year, our numbers dropped when there was anxiety, from the part-time candidates not sure what is going to happen. But it has picked up again, and we have 162,109 part-time candidates that have registered to write this examination. So across all provinces, we have increases in the numbers and of candidates, both part-time and full-time, that are going to be writing this examination this year. And so even in our key subjects as well, we have noted those increases, in some cases over 30% or 40% increases in the number of candidates who are going to be writing each of those key subjects that we have noted and we have registered for our candidates this year. We are going to have approximately over 11,000 examination centers, out of which 6,326 are public schools and 4,130 are part-time centers. We have 526 independent centers and 326 designated centers. Now, designated centers are special centers that have been created by provinces for part-time learners and also for emergencies and learners, for example, that may test positive, because in this examination we intend to accommodate everybody. So even our learners who may test positive or who may show symptoms of COVID-19 during the examination, be aware that this exam is going to span over 5 weeks. So anything could happen during that period. So if they show any symptoms, they will still be allowed to write. And so provinces have created designated centers. In schools also we have isolation rooms at examination centers that can be used by these candidates who display any COVID-19 symptoms. Now, we also are going to be having a pledge signing ceremony on the 22nd of October, where our candidates will sign a pledge to confirm their non-participation in acts of dishonesty during these exams. And also parents and learners will follow with what we call a commitment agreement, to committing to bind themselves to support the writing of an irregularity-free examination. We have accommodated our learners with special needs, and our learners with special needs, we're done with the accommodations, organizing for concessions for them, for extra time, scribes or readers, rest breaks, or whatever may be required by each of our learners. Even catering for our learners that are blind and deaf in terms of adaptation of the papers and making sure that those are ready. With regards to the monitoring as well, each province is ready to monitor this examination in a very intensive way. So there's going to be a 4-tier monitoring approach, beginning from the Department of Basic Education National, and then going to provinces, to districts, and to circuits. At each of these levels, we will have monitors monitoring examinations at the school. And in most provinces, there's 100% coverage, meaning at every school during every examination, there will be a monitor, either from a circuit or from a district or province or even national. In a few provinces that can't make 100%, at least 70%. But we have categorized our centers according to high, medium, and low risk, and our monitoring dispensation is focused on the way in which is aligned to the way in which our centers have been categorized. Very quickly, I just want to give you the stats on marking. We have appointed 41,596 markers across the 9 provinces who are going to be involved in the marking, and marking should take place in 194 marking centers. This year, our marking centers have increased by about 20 new marking centers, and the reason is so that we are able to better comply to the COVID-19 protocols. You remember last year already we implemented these protocols, and we are not putting them aside. We're continuing with them even this year, and we are making even better plans. I'm sure you would want to know the dates by which possibly the results of all of this will be coming through after we have written the exams, and I'm going to give you that very quickly. Of course, at the end of December, we expect to have captured all the marks, because we are going to be finishing marking by the 22nd of December. And we will go on to our pre-standardization processes and Umalusi standardization by the 6th of January. We expect that Minister will be announcing the results by the 20th of January, and provinces will release thereafter on the 21st of January. So, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would like to say that the department is ready, together with its provinces and districts and circuits, to administer this examination, and we're doing whatever is necessary to ensure that the class of 2021 is allowed to write this examination under the most comfortable, convenient, and least stressful circumstances. So we need all South Africans and everybody in the nation to assist the class of 2021 to actualize their dreams. Thank you.
Good afternoon to our Minister, Deputy Minister, and the viewers at home. As was mentioned by the Minister and Mrs. Ogunbanjo, the class of 2021 is indeed a class that faced the toughest preparatory years, as they are now about to sit for their NSC examination. My name is Cheryl Weston, and I'm the Director for Curriculum at the DBE. Thank you, Ms. In addition to pre-existing learning deficits that these learners had, the impact of COVID-19 on their preparation, and in particular their teaching and learning in schools, has severely been affected. So since the start of the 2021 academic year, and aligned to the Hosa Matric program that was explained by the Minister earlier, all provinces launch high-intensity support programs. These programs include, amongst others, the provision of study guides, exam banks, and exam questionnaires for all learners, revision notes, worksheets, extra classes, both online and face-to-face during early mornings, after schools, video, as well as broadcast lessons were used to support the class of 2021. In a number of schools, we found that the normal school day actually ended only at 5 in the afternoon. The differentiated support program that was used by provinces ensured that learners received support based on their needs. This ensured that higher dosages of support are provided to learners who really needs it. Our vacation schools, which is by far the largest intervention in the sector to provide support, ensured that the class of 2021, on average and at a minimum, received an additional 20 days of teaching for at least 6 to 8 hours per day in at least 3 to 4 subjects per learner. And this is the extent of the support, and this excludes our Saturday classes that was offered by a number of provinces. At the end of the spring schools period, which now most provinces are wrapping up between today and tomorrow, our support in the sector doesn't end. In fact, we are ramping up and stepping up our support with the implementation of final push support plans. These include dedicated examination and revision classes, learning camps to walk learners into the examination room. In reality, the 2021 support program for the class of 2021 will only end on the day prior to the final examination being written, that being the 6th of December, as was mentioned. We want to echo the call of the Minister to the country, including all civil society, religious organizations, communities, parents, family and friends, to join us to ensure that the learners receive maximum support as we enter the final leg of this 2021 journey. The class of 2021, considering everything they have faced, requires all of us to rally behind them and usher them into the NSC examinations. To the class of 2021, we want to say to you, there is still time. Let's make it count. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. Thank you, colleagues. We can now take questions if there's any colleagues in the room. I see one hand. Is there any other? The second one? Okay. All right. Let's go to those two hands and hear what questions you have. And please introduce yourself and then ask your question.
Good morning, Minister. It's Sakuma Afi from Newsroom Africa. I just want to check, with it being level 1, the last time that we were here, or previous weeks that we've done a media briefing, you mentioned the issue of discussions being had around learners in high school returning on a full-time basis. Where are you now with those discussions as it is level 1? Is there going to be an expectation that learners in high school also return on a full-time basis? Thank you.
Please proceed.
I'm from ENCA. Just to check, given that this class has faced, I'd say, the most difficulty when it comes to the actual curriculum, have they studied enough given their grade 11 material and matric material? Have they studied everything? And how did it come about that they're the largest number given the challenges that were presented by COVID-19? How did they then become the largest NSC number, matric number?
All right, that's fine. I think we'll handle those questions, Minister. I'm going to ask you to please come address them with the Deputy Minister.
I'll also ask either yourself or Dr. Polio to talk about the numbers. How come that we have a big cohort this time? In terms of learners returning to classes full, like we did not succeed fully with the primary schools. Most schools that could create space were able to bring, so that last report I had, we had about 60%. And we had requested them to bring in the grade 11s, because we didn't want to have the same experience like we did of grade 11s who came back very late in the year, others around July, and then they're expected to sit for exams the next year, and there's very little opportunity for us to do remediation, and hence the pressure that we had to put to the class of 2021. They had no holidays. They've been in classes throughout, and it's a bit stressful for learners not to have a break, including their teachers who just don't also take the school break to rest. So we've not been able to. So we had to identify classes that we thought, so it would have been 10, 11 that we had said schools must give first preference to. But other schools that had other facilities like the school halls, your schools in the township which have lower populations, especially in areas like your Deep Soweto where you no longer have big classes, your Katlehong, were able to bring all learners back. But in your new settlements where there's just even a general problem of overcrowding, we're not able to do it fully. So we did try, but it has not worked well. So I'm going to ask Doctor to explain the numbers, but we will even explain that we're expecting even better results from this group. Historically, we've done assessments. The report I got yesterday was that we're even hoping to do better, and not because of COVID, not because of the pressure, but I'm told it's a quality that is coming through now in the system that is resilient, that is able to take pressure. But let me give it to the director.
Thank you, Minister. I think last year when we had this COVID that just came up, we knew that our system could be tested, the mettle of our system could be tested on the basis of how the candidates come through the system. Remember that we're talking about 13 years of schooling, and these children have not just started schooling 2 years ago or 1 year ago. And so through the system and through all the programs that Cheryl was mentioning, unfortunately we didn't have time to give you all the detail. You would see the kind of input, intensive input that has been made into the class of 2021. And yes, although they missed some days last year, but those days were made up with extra classes and all other programs that the department has been putting out there. And Cheryl has the details of those programs. So certainly the children were also able to do well and move into grade 12 this year. If we could show you the graph, you would see that the numbers actually fluctuate on a year-on-year basis. You cannot say that you have a particular ceiling and those are the numbers that you're going to have. But year on year, we keep having those fluctuations. And we happen to have this fluctuation this year where we have an additional number of candidates compared to last year that are moving into grade 12. So yes, although it's like the largest number in terms of our full-time enrollments for the past couple of years, but it is not completely out of sync from what we expect from the candidates. And as already said, we believe that our learners are ready because of the input and investment that the department has made over the years, not only in this last 2 years, but even in this last 2 years as well. We can also indicate details of additional programs and support that has been given to this class to ensure that they are able to go through. Thank you.
With regards to the question on whether learners have indeed covered the curriculum and are ready for the examinations, as has been mentioned before, this class, since its inception this year, they hardly had any holidays, Saturdays, mornings, afternoon. Teachers were at school all day, every day, and schools were running. Many schools extended the school day by at least 1.5 to 2 hours every day. In order to ensure the curriculum is covered. In addition, as part of our oversight and monitoring activities that we do throughout the year. We've been having interviews also with learners, especially at our vocation schools, in order for us to determine to what extent are learners familiar with the content that's being covered in the vacation schools. And we could clearly see, whereas in the beginning or the first two schools that we had in autumn and in winter, learners were indicating there's new content, there's unfamiliar content that they do not know, and the focus was on curriculum coverage largely, as opposed to focusing exclusively on revision. However, during the last period, which is our spring school camps, we also conducted monitoring, and those monitoring results are showing us that at this stage, learners are indicating there's no new topics that they're being introduced to at this, and this is a further confirmation and verification for us that the curriculum indeed has been covered. And the focus of this spring schools, for example, is exclusively on remediation, consolidation, and revision. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. I'm going to check with Dagalan if we have any questions on the WhatsApp line.
Thank you, Mr. Mhlanga. Right now, or so far, we have 5 questions, all from Suman Naidu, who is a freelance journalist. And the first question is, recent events have once again put racial issues in South Africa under the spotlight. The question is, does the minister believe the issue of race and how it's fundamentally linked to our past is taught and focused enough in our schools to our children? And the second question is, these matric examinations will be the second written under the COVID-19 pandemic. Will the impact of the pandemic be as devastating as last year? And seeing that this year's matric had a more stable academic year compared to the class of 2020, is the department confident that this will lead to an improved matric pass rate? The third one is, a couple years ago, a ministerial task team set up by the minister recommended that history become a compulsory subject, replacing life orientation, and this was due to take effect from 2023. And I mean, for clarity, is this going ahead as planned, or has COVID-19 had a negative impact on these plans? And the fourth question is, schools across the country are set to reopen on Monday for the final term of the academic year. And is the department ready to welcome back the learners? And the last question is also, are more stringent measures going to be put in place regarding the printing and security of the matric papers to prevent the situation of last year of rewrites and legal actions? That's also for thanks, Mr. Mhlanga.
All right. Thank you so much for those questions. I'm sure they represent many more other people who did not send their questions. Any follow-up questions in the room? Seeing one.
Just a clarity, the exams, do they end on the 6th of December or the 7th of December?
Okay. Let me ask the minister to address those questions, because the deputy minister. Thank you so much. To address those questions, I think you already have your answer. There's the 7th, but I'm sure the DM will also want to emphasize that date for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mhlanga. Thank you to you, Minister. I will start with the last one. Exam will be concluded on the 7th of December 2021. Then another, maybe to go to the previous question. Remember last year, we were all new on COVID-19, and some parents withheld their children from coming back to school.
And now that we are all almost there in understanding the COVID-19 and how to deal with all its dynamics, then parents were free to allow their children to come back to school. That's why the numbers have increased. Minister, let me take the racial issue. We have one South Africa, but it depends upon an individual. Individual people who want to live in the past. Our children, especially the young ones, including up to grade 12, they don't know racism. And when they speak with parents at home, they are surprised, what is this racism? So there's no way where minister will have a plan to deal with racism, except that all of us, societies, parents, communities, we need to wipe this out of our minds, the elderly people, because we are the ones who instill these racial tendencies and practices to our children. The impact of the pandemic this year we have so many lessons learned from last year. So classes were in order, and the disruptions this year were much, much, much better than last year, because when we started to reopen schools under the pandemic, when one child is infected or one teacher is infected, the whole school will be closed for so many days. But now we understand that, if it's this class that is affected, then those contacts are the ones that are going to stay at home, but the entire school will be coming. So we had so little disruptions of the pandemic this year because of the lessons and the increasing knowledge of the COVID-19 that were told by the experts. The pass rate, we are so confident from the work that has been done. The support programs that the department, the schools, districts, provinces came up with are going to help. As the director indicated, we had so many things. The grade 12 starts at grade 1. It's a journey. That's why we need to make sure that they cover every content in each grade, that when they arrive at grade 12, it's a summary of everything together. So we cannot say now that because there's this, then grade 12 is that much affected. Yes, it is affected, but the knowledge that they have, like all of us in this room, we all know very well that when we're still at school, the work that we started from grade 1 up to grade 11 contributed more than 80% of the knowledge that we needed. So the support, the winter classes, the Saturday classes, and everything, was a metric, as Minister has indicated, all those programs and many other programs working with partners have helped big time to support the class of 2021. So I'll leave the one on the history because Minister indicated and appointed a team. She will allude on that one. Schools reopening, we are ready to welcome all the learners. The systems are ready, and now we are used to this thing. Schools are opening on Monday, and all learners are coming. Not all, but we'll still continue like we are doing. Then, when coming to the examination, they presented yesterday. Minister indicated that we had a meeting with the district directors. We wanted to get a report, even from districts, because we don't want to experience what we experienced last year. So the indication is that all our districts and all 9 provinces have risk management plans when coming to irregularities and whatever that might transpire which is not in line with the examination of the grade 12 exams. So we believe and strongly believe, and we do it every year, but this year we're going to emphasize it and strengthen it, that the candidates will sign the pledge. And the pledge this time, we are even inviting the media to affirm or agree with us that indeed learners individually, they are signing this pledge that they are going to adhere to all the rules and regulations of the examinations. And we believe that we may not see what we saw last year. Minister, over to you. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Deputy Minister. The question about race, which the Deputy Minister has responded, our take is also that as South Africa, we have a very painful history that requires all of us to consciously, let's say I must remove the mask, to consciously and deliberately confront the issue of racism. As schools or as education, through our life orientation, are doing our part. But if our communities, our families, in particular where children first learn values and cultures, are not doing their part, it becomes quite difficult. It actually undo what is happening outside. Because as DM is saying, these kids come very innocent, they don't see race, but as they grow up, you can see that as they become conscious, what exists in the environment begins to inform them how to relate to each other. But it's an ongoing struggle that requires all of us as a country and as a nation to take up and deal with, because it is a big problem in our country. The only thing perhaps I want to respond to is around the writing of history replacing life orientation. That was never the intention. The ministerial task team, there was a ministerial task team on life orientation. And when it came with its recommendations that we should do away with life orientation, we didn't really accept the report fully as the sector, understanding what we do and what we plan to do under life orientation. First, as I say, we're a country which is bedeviled by its history, that consciously and deliberately we have to sensitize our kids to issues of racism, issues of sexism, issues of tribalism. And it's in life orientation also where we expose our kids to things like comprehensive sexuality education. As you can see, we have huge problems of teenage pregnancies, delinquency, youth delinquency, and all those things we address them in a very soft manner through life orientation. Otherwise, there's no subject that really has sensitized children around about sexuality, about racism, and those things are things that those challenges are areas that we address through life orientation. And that's why we felt that the recommendation that we should do away with life orientation, it will not work for our context. And the report was not accepted in its totality. When I set up the ministerial task team on history, it's done lots of work. They've presented the first report almost 2 years back. Almost 2 years back with the recommendations. The biggest task now is the rewriting, because it doesn't help to say we're going to teach history across the curriculum, whereas we are quite conscious that there's lots that needs to be done around the content of that history. So we're at a stage where we're doing lots of research about what will be the correct content for the new curriculum that we're bringing in school. So we're at that stage now. So we've passed the stage of the recommendations. We've accepted the recommendations of the task team. It has done all research to show us how different countries have been dealing with history, at which level, what are the contents. So the technical part is done. The major challenge now, which is the massive exercise, it's around the rewriting of the history, because we didn't want to present, and even the task team said you can't present the current history as it is. So it has to be rewritten. We have to resource it, for instance, because if we rewrite, then we have to find money for new textbooks, we have to retrain people, and that's where we are. And we've agreed also from the report that we have to phase it in, because you can't bring wholesale and say, this year, even if you did this history at grade 1, at grade 9, now at grade 11, you write a different history. So we also have a plan around how we're going to phase in the new content. But because history is very controversial, we'll be consulting, I think, the task team It's also consulting academics, archaeologists, and all other people who, cultural activists, linguists, for instance. I mean, that task team had linguists which was able to even make recommendations to say, here's evidence just from language about the history of our country. So that task team has linguists, has archaeologists, has historians themselves, researchers and academics, and they are working together then to develop the new content of the new history. So that work is underway. And because I don't know because we have time, we have phases to say when are we going to consult, because we're busy now with the research on the content. And then we have to say when are we consulting the public to say now this is what we've agreed with academic scholars and other people on what should inform the content. And then when we have dealt with the content and the resourcing and the retraining of our history teachers, because that's also what came forward, we'll be able to announce to say on this year we're beginning to phase in, but now we're at this very difficult phase of rewriting the content of the history in line with what we think will be the correct history as compared to what we have. So I thought I should clarify that it's in her section. You want to really just update about the years and the phases, because she was the secretariat for the history task teams, and it's a very high profile team. We're coming about exams.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Minister. Yeah, just to provide some detail around the work that's being done by the Ministerial Task Team on History, is that the team at this stage is really towards finalizing the curriculum. And once that has been done, they will then engage on provincial consultative roadshows in every province, consulting with various stakeholders and partner organizations and stakeholder bodies that all would have an interest in the revised or the new history curriculum that is being put together by the team. That work, the work on consultation and actually finalizing the curriculum would be done. The draft curriculum will be ready by the end of this year. The revised final curriculum should be ready by mid next year. And in the last 6 months of next year, the curriculum will then be sent for quality assurance to Umalusi and for further approvals before we start with the phased-in implementation. The current date for the phased-in implementation is in 2024, and we will start with phased-in implementation in various grades in order to almost ease in the revised history curriculum from 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Deputy Minister. Thanks, Ms. Weston. I have a question that came through on the WhatsApp line. They're asking about the pledge signing. It's on the 22nd of October. The Minister and the DM, I'm sure they will be somewhere. And you'll be invited. Yes, so you'll be invited to witness that. Thank you. Thank you. Minister will be in the Free State, and the Deputy Minister will be in the Northern Cape. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions. WhatsApp line is relaxed. There's nothing there. And in the room here, there are no questions. It's been a good hour. It's exactly an hour since we started. So let me take this opportunity to thank the Minister, the Deputy Minister, Ms. Ogubanjo and Ms. Weston, and all other colleagues from DBE who are here, who came to support the ministers. Thank you so much, and thank you to all our colleagues from the media. We appreciate your support all the time. Let's continue to engage. We know that there's always questions that will follow because there were presentations and detail given, but we'll be available to provide you that information. Thank you so much and have a good afternoon.